Welcome to another episode of Eyepiece. This week we're going to talk about understanding the Bible. How do we understand the Bible? Can we understand the Bible? We will discuss these questions this episode, but first, my name is Hayden, and I am joined once again by Martin.
Yes, your one and only friend.
Oh.
Alright, how are you, Hayden?
I'm alright. What's new with you?
Not much. I'm getting ready for the midterms.
Oh, really?
Yeah,
Wait,
this is now a political podcast. We will only speak of political issues, and we'll also make very, very bold statements, despite the fact that neither of us know anything about politics, and we'll judge you if you have a different opinion from us as well.
I only know what my friends on Facebook share, so my politics are informed strictly from Facebook.
Wow.
Also, when you said midterms, my immediate thought was, like, school midterms.
Oh, no.
So that just shows how politically minded I am.
Wow. Well, if you're listening to this before the midterms, I highly encourage you to vote, regardless of for whom you vote. But
Who are you voting for?
well, I don't know. I've done literally no research so far.
I was gonna vote based on your decision.
Well, the thing is, most of it is we don't. A lot of the people for whom we're voting are local.
Okay.
And you and I live in different areas right now.
It's true.
Here, I'm breaking out my voter's guide. I have a physical voter's guide. It's not from the internet. I just tore my voter's guide. What'd you say?
I was just gonna say I'm not drinking a beer right now. I'm drinking just plain old apple cider.
Okay.
And some water. Just thought I'd throw that out there.
That's good that you're staying sober during this sober time.
I mean, it's because I already had a beer, so.
Okay. You're just getting wasted for this podcast.
Oh.
Anyway. Alright, so I'll just talk about the 4 governor candidates.
Okay.
Oh, there are 6. Okay.
6.
Okay, so first up is Bill Schuette, the Republican candidate.
Yeah.
You may know him as Schuette Polluti. Have you seen that ad?
No.
He one of, like, you know how they're like political ads that smear candidates? They like tell you not to vote for them.
I mean, it's basically all of them now.
Yeah, basically. This one specific ad was about how Bill Schuette voted for, I think it was for like some kind of oil pipeline which burst in the Great Lakes.
Oh, wow.
And he like signed on for it or something. So they call him Schuette Polluti at the end of the ad.
Wow.
So his top 3 priorities are, let me see.
Pollution.
No. Yeah, he's prioritizing polluting the environment. So he wants to encourage a growing population in Michigan, growing paychecks, and
population.
Yeah, he wants to encourage population growth in our state.
How do you do that? Like,
probably tax cuts for people with more children or something like that.
Oh, interesting.
Because Michigan, like above the south end of the state, is pretty darn empty. Like the District 1, like is based off. So the districts are based off of population. District 13 is like half of Detroit. District 1 is the entirety of the Upper Peninsula and the top third of the Lower Peninsula.
Oh, wow.
So it gets pretty empty up there. Anyway, let's not talk about politics. I give up on this.
Okay.
Let's just all have monarchy again, please.
Are you sure?
Enough of this voting. Enough of this voting garbage. What'd you say?
How would we determine who the king or queen is?
We would have a fight to the death. It would be like an elimination style round of rock, paper, scissors, except it's a fight to the death involving every single citizen of the United States until the only person left is the king and all of the illegal immigrants.
Can I propose a more peaceful solution?
Yeah, sure.
We just find a sword and have a contest to see who can pull the sword out of the stone.
Well, that's no way to run a system of government. All right. Well, anyway, if you want to learn more about voting, Google League of Women Voters Michigan, and they've interviewed all the candidates for the candidates' positions, and the candidates just share what they want to do.
This episode is sponsored by League of Women Voters.
And despite the name, it's not like
feminist.
Yeah, it's not specifically feminist. It's basically just a way to share political platforms of the candidates.
Okay.
All right. So, got any stuff from this week?
Not really. I mean, I can just tell you what's happened this week, I guess.
Yes. Tell me what's happened this week.
I decided to become a member at Community.
Oh, cool.
So on Sunday I had my membership interview, and that was pretty cool. Basically, Jonathan and two of the elders.
Did they haze you? Did they haze you?
No.
They make you run around the church naked?
No. Oh my gosh. I don't want to go to that church. No, they just we just met in one of the classrooms, and I shared my testimony, and they found it very touching, inspiring, and humbling.
Awesome.
So they really liked my testimony. I might share it on the podcast.
Cool.
But yeah. And basically they just, confirmed that I believe in the doctrines that they teach, and that I, am willing to serve the church in whatever skill set I have, which I'm still trying to figure out. I'm not sure what my particular skills or gifts are.
Yeah.
But, yeah.
I think your skill is being a good friend.
No. Do that. It's easy.
Yeah. Well, it should be easy. A lot of people don't try.
That's a good point, yeah.
So,
I try. I invited a few people to come to Shakes on Monday.
Ooh.
No, none of them could.
Oh.
But they all said, thank you for the invite, and that they would try to come next time. So
great.
Hopefully next time I can get some peeps from Community to join us at Shakespeare's.
Yeah.
It's been a week full of life-changing decisions.
Yeah.
So, needless to say, kind of exhausting.
Well, sometimes hard decisions are good ones.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
And sometimes easy ones are bad ones.
That's a good point, too.
And sometimes hard ones are also bad ones.
Okay.
That's all.
Is it ever the case where an easy decision is the right one?
Yes.
Okay. So we've covered all our bases. So yeah, do we want to get into our topic?
What's our topic?
Our topic is understanding the Bible. I want to begin with a question. And this question could fail utterly, but I just want to ask it anyways.
Okay.
What is the first thing that comes to mind when you hear the word Protestant?
Heathens.
Okay, definitely not what I was going for.
Okay.
I was thinking denominations and the fact that Protestants kind of have all these divisions about their different beliefs and their different understandings of the Bible, and
That's true, yeah.
we can't really, we agree on some things, and there's a bunch of other things that we disagree on, but we're all reading the same book. So
yeah,
what's up with that? Why is it that we can read the same book and get different beliefs about it? That's what we're going to talk about. And when you think about, different denominations and stuff, if it's a, Bible believing denomination, they should believe at least, at least what's important for salvation, that Christ is our Savior, and that He died to as a sacrifice for our sins, and believing in Him is the only way to be saved. But of course, there are tons of other things that are confusing and disagreed with and everything. So
yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever had any experience with that? Like different people who call themselves Christians believing different things?
Yeah, I definitely have. Last week, I was on a podcast with some guy who kept disagreeing with me. He was a real jerk.
But would you say that we agreed to the point where you would still say that we're both Christians, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, even though we have different opinions on certain things.
Yeah.
Yeah, I guess I don't know. I don't really know what I want to say all about this topic. I just think it's important because we're about to start kind of a series where we're going to go through like a timeline of the Bible.
Interesting.
From creation to the fall to, Israel and the prophets and, the coming of Christ and everything. And there's a lot of portions of the Bible that can bring up a lot of questions. And I think it's good to ask those questions, but I don't think that, our salvation hinges on what you believe about those things.
Yes, and I thank goodness for that.
Yeah. So I think that there's a verse that actually one of the elders at the community kind of reminded me of. But it's Deuteronomy 29:29. And it says, "The secret things belong to the Lord our God, but the things that are revealed belong to us, to our children forever, that we may do all the words of this law." So I think that there are kind of two extremes that you can fall into when you look at something like these two categories, the secret things and the things that are revealed. One extreme is that you can try to dive headfirst into the secret things and try to, dwell on these mysteries and try to understand the things that really don't belong to us, But the other extreme that I find a lot of people doing is lumping more things than necessary into that secret category. Like, taking something that seems kind of confusing and saying, like, well, it's too confusing, it must be, something that only God knows. We say, like, when we go to heaven someday, we're going to ask God all these questions and stuff. And we forget about the fact that there are things that are revealed to us and that we can actually know from reading Scripture. And there are some things that don't have to be a mystery to us because they're plainly spelled out in Scripture.
Yeah.
So I can't think of any specific examples, but I think the biggest and most important example is, the gospel, and the message of salvation, and what it takes to be saved. So, have you heard of the Westminster Confession of Faith?
I think you shared a bit of it with me.
Okay. But you haven't heard of it from, anywhere else besides me?
Nope.
Okay. Well, the Westminster Confession of Faith says, in chapter 1, article 7, all things in Scripture are not alike plain in themselves, nor alike clear unto all. Yet those things which are necessary to be known, believed, and observed for salvation are so clearly propounded and opened in some place of Scripture or other, that not only the learned, but the unlearned, in due use of the ordinary means, may attain unto a sufficient understanding of them. So essentially, there are a lot of things in Scripture that are confusing and aren't perfectly clear, but everything that we need to know in order to be saved is clear and is able to be learned by anybody.
Yeah.
Children, adult, anybody. So as we go into this new series, I suppose, we're going to be looking at, some questions and some, I think what we should do is focus on the main message, which is the gospel. And just remember that, God has given us this book that's full of wisdom. I mean, Scripture says all things. Dude, I had this written down in my notes, but it's on a different page. All Scripture is breathed out by God and profitable for teaching, for reproof, for correction, and for training in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, equipped for every good work. So, yeah.
Sweetness.
That's all I have for this.
All right.
I wish I had planned this out a little bit better. Maybe we can. Huh?
What do you want to talk about?
I was thinking, maybe since Halloween is tomorrow, maybe we can, share some scary stories from our lives or something, or just some mysterious happenings that we don't know how to explain.
Did I tell you about the time I was almost kidnapped?
No.
I'm not actually joking. This did really happen.
Oh my goodness.
So when I was I think I must have been 10 or 11, I had a babysitter and we went to see Cheaper by the Dozen 2.
Okay.
And we had both already seen it, but there was literally nothing else to do. So we went and saw this movie that we didn't care about. And then when I got out, I went to the bathroom and I remember I was at the urinal.
Mm-hmm.
And this guy came up to me, and I'm not joking. He had it was, I don't remember if it's a leather jacket or a coat, and he had a ski cap. And
oh my God.
He came up next to me. He was peeing. He's like, "Oh, what movie you see?" And I said, "Oh, Cheaper by the Dozen 2." And he said, "Oh, was it good?" I was like, "Yeah." He's like, "Awesome." And then he said, "Do you want me to take you to your mom?"
What?
And they had drilled into us so many times in elementary school to never go with a stranger when they say something like that.
Yeah.
So I just walked out.
And, wash your hands?
No, I didn't. I didn't wash my hands. I remember that was a detail I remembered because it was crazy to me that I didn't wash my hands.
Wow.
And
well, you had to get out of there.
I had to get out of there. So I told my babysitter, and she's like, oh, that's crazy. So we left, and when we went to the car, there was a police car waiting in the parking lot.
Oh,
and
wow.
she went and told them, and they're like, oh yeah, we're looking for a guy.
Wow.
So I think it was him, and I think he
Yeah.
might have been looking for a hostage or something. I don't know.
Gosh.
Isn't that nuts?
Yeah. That's scary.
That's my story. I've never been the same since.
Wow. As far as like scary things goes, the only like thing that's kind of stuck in my memory is when I was little. I can't remember how old. Maybe like 9 or 10 or so. Maybe older than that. But I know I was young, and I was at an age where I was really interested in like ghosts and aliens and like paranormal stuff.
Yeah.
And I think it might have had an impact on my perception of things.
Oh yeah.
So like I would see things and like assume that it was a ghost or assume it was an alien or something. All I remember is I had this like clear memory of sitting in our back room watching TV with like my cousins, and there was a window behind the TV, and like suddenly, like as I was watching the TV, I saw in the window like this green face just like appear like it was pressing up against the window, and there was like a hand that was like cupping its face, like it was peeking into the window, and it like appeared, and then it just kind of like poofed into smoke and like disappeared. But I saw it, and I like my heart rate just like tripled, and I just like shouted. I was like, "What was that?" Like nobody else knew what I was talking about. But I just like was speechless, and I was like asking if anybody saw that, and nobody else did. And then like my parents came in, and I was like telling them what I saw, and they were just telling me like, "Oh, you were seeing things," or like maybe you saw a shadow or something, or it was light TV. They're trying to like explain it to me, and I was just like, it was really weird. But yeah, it took me a while for me to like get my heart rate back down, and like that image was just like burned into my head. And like after that, I was like going online and like going to like paranormal like forums and like websites and stuff, and like posting on them and saying like I saw a ghost or whatever, and like asking people like to explain it for me. And yeah, it was weird. That was a weird time.
How old did you say you were?
I think it was like 9 or 10 or
funny.
Older, maybe 11 or 12. I just know that there was a time in my life when like almost everything seemed like it was paranormal to me. Like I would hear noises outside, and I'd be like, "Oh my gosh, our house is haunted." Like I think our neighbor at the time like used to stay up really late, sitting on their porch listening to the radio. But they would listen to like talk shows, and so I would hear these voices outside my window, and they'd be like, "Oh my gosh, there's voices speaking like outside my window. Obviously a ghost."
That's really funny. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. I was creeped out. And then we would get like heat lightning or something a lot for some reason, and so like I would see these like flashes of light outside, and I would think it was UFOs or something. Man, I had a terrifying childhood.
I did something like that when I was in 5th grade too. I found at the school library a bunch of like scary books about like unexplained happenings and stuff.
Uh-huh.
And I read them, and I had to sleep with my door open for like the next 7 weeks because I freaked myself out so much. And I had to like ask my mom to come in and sit with me. She lost patience for that pretty quickly. Here, I can find Actually, something really good. I was actually tutoring today, and the girl I was tutoring needed my computer, and she saw one of my bookmarks, which is like a Reddit thread where people asked, "What's the scariest thing that's ever happened to you?" And she saw it. She's like, "That's a good one." Shall I read a few of these, Hayden?
Do it.
Okay. A buddy picked me up to go to a couple of bars, have a few drinks and whatnot. Everything was fine. I had a nice little drunk going on. Around 11 p.m., I went outside to smoke a stogie. Then, boom, I woke up at my house in bed the following morning.
Holy cow.
I don't recall even leaving the bar, let alone how I returned home. I had multiple missed calls from my buddy. Called him to see what happened, and he said I just disappeared.
Huh.
The creepy part is, after I got off the phone with him, I went to the restroom to realize some way, somehow, during the time I went MIA, I'd received a haircut and someone shaved my face.
Oh my god.
Weird. I do my business, only to realize my wiggly bits had been groomed as well. With expert... His private parts had been cleaned and groomed.
Okay.
With expert precision.
Oh my gosh.
Not a missed hair, nick, or cut. Still to this day, don't know what happened, but upon sharing the story with other friends, I was spotted at other bars throughout the night. Pre-haircut and alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
Wow.
Isn't that weird?
Yeah. Yeah.
Are you feeling spooked yet?
Let's hear it.
The clinch. Somebody commented by saying you were a victim of a date rape barber.
Wow.
In third grade, I had this strange short teacher named Mrs. Todd. She was always super nice to me in class. She'd always call me on to do the fun activities first, compliment me whenever I did something, and was generally just very positive toward me. At the time, I thought she was perhaps my favorite person in the world. I remember even telling my mother about how much I loved Mrs. Todd. Anyways, one day, I sat down at my desk and opened it up to put stuff in it, when shockingly I saw that there's a Victoria's Secret magazine sitting in the pull-out drawer. This is kind of silly. The kid next to me noticed how shocked I was. I thought I was going to get in trouble. And we started talking about how it might have got there. Almost immediately, Mrs. Todd walks up and asks, "What have you got there?" I was seriously confused and told her it was sitting in my desk when I got here this morning. Well, she looks at me and tells me that the kid sitting next to me must have put it there. She kept repeating the statement over and over again to both him and me, and finally I admitted I guess he could have put it there. Maybe a few days after that, she approached me after class to tell me about this special field trip I could go on if I kept doing good in class. It would be a trip with just her and I to the Gulf of Mexico for the weekend. I remember being really excited about it at the time. However, she suddenly got replaced at the school, and we got this new teacher that didn't like me as much. I was heartbroken at the time. It wasn't until many years later that I realized how messed up the situation was. It scares me just thinking about it still.
Was the person who posted this male or female?
It doesn't say. The username is just Soup for Brunch, so that doesn't really say.
Huh. I guess either way it's pretty creepy, but yeah.
When I was about 8 years old during recess at school, I noticed a bunch of other kids outside a storage room yelling and warning to others not to approach the door because there was an eyeball staring back at you. I was curious because I didn't understand what they meant, but I could see their fear was real because their faces were pale white as they would try to deter me from taking a peek through the keyhole. I remember bending down slightly so I could get a closer look inside, and sure enough, there was an eyeball staring back at me, and it freaked me out so much I peed my pants on the spot. It was only later in the day, after I ended up at the nurse's office because of the commotion us kids had created, that a janitor had to go into the room to inspect what this whole mess was about. Turns out, someone had placed a door against the mirror, and the eyeball we were seeing was our own reflection.
Wow.
And that was the scariest experience of this person's life.
Wow.
Apparently.
Well, I guess if that's your scariest experience, then you've lived a good life.
Yeah, I'll say. I was alone in the house. An unknown number called me and I could hear the same TV show I was watching. I kept saying hello and my voice would echo back. I thought it was just one of those broken calls where you hear your mic feedback, but what happened next creeped me out. Right before I put down the call, I heard a voice whispering, "Goodbye. Good night." I stared at the phone, confused of what happened. Then I said hello again. The static and the echo disappeared. It was all quiet, then suddenly, "Hi." I put down the phone, turned off the TV, then ran to bed.
Oh my God. That's terrifying.
Yeah. I should do that to you. Just call you.
I'm pretty sure I would see your name pop up on my phone, though.
You can like type a certain thing that makes it an anonymous call when you dial a person's number. Yeah, and then you pick up. And
no, I don't pick up anonymous calls.
Oh, that's a good point. I'll keep doing it until you pick up, then.
What?
I'll keep doing it until you pick up.
Oh my gosh.
And then when you do, I'll do the goodbye, good night. All right.
Do you ever just get like really freaked out about nothing? Just like you like work your own nerves up to the point where you're really scared, even though you have no reason to be scared.
Like getting water in the middle of the night. There could be someone behind me right now.
Yeah. When my parents live out in Galesburg, and it's like kind of out of the way. It's not like super like remote, but you know it's far enough away that you're not in town or anything. But they were on vacation 2 weeks ago, so I was dog sitting at their house, and I would stay the night there. But I was completely alone, except for the dog and the cat. There was one night when I literally was just like, I do not want to be here. I am so freaked out about nothing. Like I had to drive into town, just kind of like drive around for a bit because I was just like, oh, I'm so freaked out. And then like as I was driving back to my parents' house, I was like listening to a sermon in the car just to like calm my nerves. And like I got to the house and I was like turned literally every light on and like was like listening to worship music and stuff, and I was like trying to just like
you were like holding a silver crucifix in your hand, shaking, like hiding in the corner.
Oh, but you know what was really creepy?
What?
Like legitimately, as I was leaving, I think it was as I was leaving, I was putting my boots on. And like you know how I told you guys on chat that I spit water at a spider?
Yeah.
Well, after I did that, I stomped on it with my boot. But then like when I stomped, it made a loud noise and the dog started barking. But then it sounded like it legitimately sounded like there was somebody like under the stairs, like grumbling, complaining about the noise.
Oh my gosh!
Like I don't know if I was just like imagining it or if it was something else that sounded like a human voice, but it sounded like somebody was just like mumbling under the stairs, and I'm like, what the heck? Is there somebody living under the stairs?
I don't know why, but the idea of someone just not saying anything scary, just like complaining all of a sudden about the noise, that is really scary.
Yeah. I don't know. I was so freaked out. That's why I like left. Well, I had to leave because I had to take care of my sister's dog as well. But like when I was in town, I was just like, I do not want to go back home. Like I just want to stay in town and not go back there.
Oh my gosh, that's really funny.
Yeah, man, I was so freaked out. And
I should, as well as doing a phone call prank, I should hide underneath your stairs for a really long time, and then whenever I hear a loud noise, just start grumbling loudly.
he's like, "Man, these noisy kids, what did you stomp on my stair for?"
Exactly. Okay, you want to hear another?
Yeah.
Was up late one night watching TV alone in the living room when I was about 12. Heard my dog growling.
Ooh.
Sometimes he does that when he sees something in the backyard. A cat, a squirrel, plastic bag blowing in the wind, a moon, whatever. So I go to investigate and see him standing at the door with the hair on his back standing up.
Oh my goodness.
The way I've only seen it was when he was about to get into a fight or when he wants to fight. So I creep over and look out. Nothing. After a minute or two, I figure it was probably a raccoon that's gone away. So open the door to let the dog out. He steps out a few feet and stops in front of me, looking off towards the shed in the back corner of the yard. It's the middle of the night and only the back porch light is on, which isn't enough to really light up the whole yard. I look off towards the shed, scan around it, nothing. Then my eyes drift upwards towards the tree that hangs over the shed. There's some dark, undefined shape up in the tree, and the instant my eyes fix on it, it quickly floats up like a wisp of smoke being blown away, and disappears in the backdrop of the night sky.
Oh my gosh.
No sound, no flapping of wings, or even rustling of branches. My dog loses it and starts barking at it. He's still right in front of the door, so I reach forward and grab his collar, yank him inside, and book the fire truck out of the kitchen. I try to wake my mom up, blabbering about some dark cloud in the tree, but she's fast asleep.
Oh my gosh.
Ta-da!
That's freaky.
Isn't it freaky?
Yeah. Oh man, I'm gonna have nightmares tonight.
Should I stop?
No. Yeah, it's okay. Continue.
Okay.
This is what happens. Like I go on YouTube and I like watch those creepy videos.
Yeah.
There was this one time when like I'm like on the edge of my seat now.
Hayden? Did you fall? Are you okay?
No, I heard like a bunch of static coming from your end. And it like freaked me out.
Literally anything will like terrify you.
Yeah.
My dad's gonna like say goodnight to me through the door, and you're gonna be like, "Oh, what was that?"
Probably.
Okay.
No, I was just gonna say, like, I remember when I first started watching those videos, I was living at my parents' house, and I was like driving into town one day, and like it was the middle of the day, like it wasn't even dark out, but for some reason I just kept like seeing things, like things that I knew weren't there, but I would like look at like a telephone pole, and I would see like a figure like standing on top of it, and be like, what the heck is that? And then be like, oh, there's nothing there. I would just like see things, and it was like terrorizing me.
I think your naturally anxious disposition is getting the best of you, Hayden.
Maybe.
I think there are these things called Wendigos or like skinwalkers or something, and they're from Native American folklore.
Yeah.
And they're like shapeshifters, but they don't properly shapeshift, I think. So like the scary story goes that sometimes you'll be driving along at night and you'll see like a deer standing on its hind legs.
Oh my god.
And it's kind of like walking like a human, and it's kind of distorted. And like when it turns to face you, it doesn't have eyes, it just has like black pits. Yeah, it's freaky. And then so somebody was sharing a story where it sounded like that, and I commented, maybe it was a skinwalker. And everyone like downvoted me. I'm like, what's going on? And somebody commented, they said apparently people who talk about skinwalkers are skinwalkers trying to lure you. And I'm like, oh no. They've got me.
What in the world?
Yeah, isn't that weird?
Yeah.
I guess these people are really adamant into their beliefs about it.
Yeah, I guess so.
All right.
Just playing along.
Yeah. I'm a skinwalker, Hayden.
No!
I've been here before the white people. Okay, you ready?
Yeah.
Are you like cuddling your sister's corgi right now? Or are you at your grandma's house?
Oh man, I wish.
You're like torturing the poor corgi, holding it down.
No, I'm at my grandma's
Okay.
room.
Are you clutching your grandma? Like sitting in your
I'm like fidgeting with the magnets on my mini fridge.
Okay. Okay. On to the next one.
Yep.
I used to have sleep paralysis a lot as a kid. I'm not doing that voice. I still get it on occasion.
Like just doing that voice is like makes it sound creepy.
It does make it sound creepy, or it doesn't?
Yeah. It does.
Okay, I'll do it.
Oh
I
my
still
God.
get it on occasion. But back then,
Okay, no. Do normal voice.
but back then it was like once a month. I saw the old hag, aliens, shadowy figures, heard voices. Pretty much everything that can happen has happened to me. The worst one I ever had was when I woke up not being able to breathe, seeing an old lady sitting on my chest and not moving. Just staring at me, smiling. The feeling of being convinced I was going to die has stuck with me 8 years later.
Jeez.
Now you're gonna look at your granny and get scared. You're gonna see her get like, ah!
Don't sit on me.
Let's do the next scary story for the viewers. This is what they came here for.
Yes, this is the point of this podcast, is to hear scary stories.
There is something called the Hornet Spooklight in Joplin. Is MO Minnesota or Missouri?
Huh? Say that again?
You know how states are abbreviated?
Yes.
Is MO Minnesota or Missouri?
Oh, MO? I think that's Missouri. I think
MO.
Minnesota's MN.
State. I think you're right. It is Missouri. Yep. Okay. There is something called the Hornet Spooklight in Joplin, Missouri. It is a light that has been documented back to the early 1800s. It has been studied by the Army Corps of Engineers with no explanation. It is a spherical light that moves along the Minnesota and Oklahoma state line. It doesn't have any pattern, changes colors, and sometimes splits or gets bigger or smaller. It appears to have some intelligence as it interacts with people. My grandpa, who passed away before I was born, took my dad and his siblings to see it back in the 50s. There used to be a museum there. So my dad decided to take us on a road trip back in 1986 to see it. I was 2. I remember being out in this dark road and getting scared. My mom was pregnant with my sister at the time, so she and my grandpa, but the other grandma, sorry, took me back to the van, an old Dodge Caravan, the boxy ones for those who remember. I was in my car seat in the middle seat, and my mom and grandma were up front. All of a sudden, the back of the van lit up with a bright light. My mom and grandma got really quiet, and I turned around. The light danced and moved around right there behind the van. My mom obviously freaked out and got out of the van running.
Oh my goodness.
My grandma stayed in there with me watching it. It only stayed for a little bit and then went away. My dad and siblings came over at the commotion, but I honestly don't know if they ended up seeing it. There was also a time in high school that we saw it again. It rapidly moved up and down the road and got about 20 feet from us and went up in the air as much as 50 feet. The funny thing is that when we stopped at the gas station or truck stop, the locals wouldn't give us directions to it. We finally found some teenagers to help us, but even they wouldn't take us all the way there. You can look it up. It's the Hornet Spooklight.
The what?
The Hornet Spooklight.
The Hornet Spooklight?
Mm-hmm. The Phantom Cigarette. I woke up one morning. I had one of those bad dreams where you wake up in a rush and immediately sit up. This time it was different, though. I had a cigarette in my mouth. I do not know how it got there. I accidentally breathed some smoke through my nose and started coughing, and accidentally put my hand on the cigarette, burning it. Again, I had absolutely no idea what happened. Worst part? I live alone, my doors and windows were locked, and I don't smoke. It wasn't a dream because I got up and went to work as usual, and I kept the cigarette butt on my table. It was there for weeks afterwards. I threw it away eventually, so I can't provide pics of it. Have you ever woken up smoking, Hayden?
No.
I know you've woken up smoking hot.
Oh my goodness.
I am dedicated to find actually good ones.
Yeah.
What? How would you feel if, like, the Thing happened in real life?
Oh, that would be terrible.
Yeah.
Weepy voiced killer. He would kill people, then call 911 from a payphone, crying and begging them to catch and stop him. You can find recordings of his 911 calls on YouTube. That's creepy. I don't want to look that up.
Oh, here's a good one. This one's actually pretty messed up. It's not real, though. It's from 4chan. The story starts off in late September when my family went to visit our relatives, who invited us up to celebrate one of them getting like $2,000 in some scratch-off lottery. They live in this really crappy part of Shannondale that people from Charlestown, Shepherdstown, and Ranson, basically the least rednecky parts of West Virginia, like to call squalor holler. This is so offensive. It's way up on the mountain, exactly like how everyone pictures it when they hear about it. Nothing but ramshackle sheds, rusty rebuilt trailers, everybody covered in decades-old Christmas decorations because they're too busy being smelly rednecks to ever clean up.
Oh my gosh.
The relatives we were visiting are absolutely confirmed inbreeders.
Oh, geez.
We don't refer to them as aunt, uncle, whatever, just relatives.
Okay.
Not terrible people or anything, just cartoonish, depressing hillbilly. So anyway, we're up in this forsaken trailer, and it sucks. There's like 8 of them, plus me, my dad, my mom, and my sister. About 2 hours in, my mom takes my cell phone so that I can focus on the family time together. Which is ridiculous, as all we did was eat TV dinners and be forced to watch NASCAR. I like that. NASCAR part. After like 6 hours of this, about 10 minutes before we're supposed to leave, it starts raining. We know how treacherous the roads can get up on the mountain, so we decide to wait for the rain to die down. Flash forward 2 hours later, it's dark as hell, 10 o'clock, and there's a flood warning for the area. I have my phone back by this time, no reception though, of course. I'm playing Tetris and Texas Hold'em and so on, when suddenly I hear my dad starting to lose his mind in the next room. I walk over and it turns out that they let slip that they'd buried their kid, Thomas, outside and apparently were afraid the rain would wash up his body. The kid was like 6, he was attacked by a dog, and they never told the cops. They just buried him like he was a pet.
Oh.
My dad's losing his mind, and rightfully so, because, you know, we live in the 21st century.
Yeah.
So our relatives all say they'll sort it out in the morning. My parents tell me and my sister to stay in the same room as them during the night, and we do. None of us really suspected that they'd killed Thomas or anything, since they're really peaceful. They didn't even own guns aside from this one old-timey double-barrel shotgun they had on a mantle. Nevertheless, we were creeped out and intended to tell the cops in the morning once we got to town. So it was like 3 in the morning, and I couldn't sleep. Power had gone out for the 5th time or so, and I'm not able to charge my dead phone. Worst part is, I could see Thomas's little grave right outside the window. Little cross on it and everything, and I assumed the kid couldn't have been buried deep at all since they were so worried about him just washing up out of the grave. So I was just fixated on it, kept being drawn to looking out the window, and then I saw the worst thing in my life. Something was creeping through the trees toward the house. I stared at it for a while, but couldn't get a good look at it since it was raining and the brush was so thick. For a few minutes, I assumed it was 2 really pale horses. Beware the pale horse, Hayden. Kind of ambling through the woods side by side. But then it walked into the moonlight, and I saw it was all one thing. like a kind of human torso, but wider. It finally stepped into full view, and I saw it had something like 6 legs, kind of somewhere between a beetle's legs and a horse's legs. 2 arms right where someone would normally have them, but they were about half a foot longer than any normal man's arms. It had a bald head, but the face looked like some kind of bizarre masquerade ball sort of mask. This clenched up, furrowed forehead, and a nose that looked sort of like a crow's or a raven's beak. It didn't have eyes either, just the depression where eyes would go. It looked like it had a human mouth underneath its proboscis, but what strikes me still to this day that it seemed to have a penis too, like right on the abdomen.
Okay.
This is getting explicit, sorry. The thing moved sort of gracefully and made these soft thumping noises whenever it moved. It must have been 7 or 8 feet tall, but sounded like it weighed maybe only 150 pounds at most. It started walking towards Thomas's grave, and then I finally snapped out of whatever trance I was in and just screamed. My mom is the first to wake up, and I tell her to look out the window. She rushes over and doesn't seem to really understand what she's looking at. After a minute, though, the thing bends down and starts pawing at the grave with its hands. My dad and Jasper rush in, and Jasper just loses it. He screams like a little girl, runs back out of the room, yelling for his father, yelling, "It's outside! It came and it's outside!" I look back and see the thing is digging furiously at the ground, kicking up huge mounds of dirt. I hear the sounds of feet running around the house. I think they're looking for the shotgun. The thing reaches into the hole and grabs up what I assume was Thomas's body by the leg in one hand. The thing kind of gallops back into the woods, snapping all these branches, and that's when we all hear it. A kid crying. The sound of a child sobbing and crying from the direction that the thing took off in. We left as soon as the rain let up, about 5 a.m. I don't think we even told anyone at the house. Dad drove straight back to Ranson, only stopping for gas. No one said a word to each other. My family refuses to speak about what happened. I tried to bring it up once, just to make sure it was real. My dad told me shut up, so I did. I typed this up about 3 weeks after it happened, but just saved it to a notepad file and left it alone. Never mentioned to any of my friends or anything, just tried to erase it from my mind. And that worked up until yesterday. See, I work at this gas station in Ranson from 8 p.m. to 3 a.m. I work the register, keep the place clean, and take out the trash. Yesterday, when I was bringing the trash bags over to the back of the building for the dude in the morning to take care of, I heard what I assumed to be some junkie in the dumpster. I yelled at it, whoever it was, a couple of times to get out before I called the cops. As I walked toward the source of the noise, I suddenly heard those same footsteps, that soft thump-thump. Hooves or feet or whatever they were. I turned right around and went back into the store and hid behind the counter. I looked over at the outside security monitor and see some kind of movement from just off screen. Something huge casting a shadow and moving. Cast a glimpse of, I don't know, an elbow or something, a pale limb darting in and out of view. It had to have been the same thing. I waited for it to leave, and after a while it did. I woke up behind the counter at 6 a.m. this morning to my manager giving this look like I'm a drug addict or something. I went home, typed the rest of this up, and that's it. That's the story.
That's all?
Yeah.
Wow. Okay, I have another one. This happened to my father. I will tell the story the way he told me to better the story. I was 22 years old. I had just gotten a place close with my new job, but the neighborhood I lived in was secluded. Maybe 4 houses within a mile. Nothing for miles after that. I was having a normal night, maybe my first week there. I watched some TV and fell asleep. When I woke up around 1 a.m., I was about to go to my bedroom when I remembered to turn off the bathroom light at the opposite end of the house. As I was walking through the living room, I could barely see through to the kitchen and even further, the dining room. It was pitch black because the bathroom door was closed. In the dining room, however, I saw something tall standing up in the corner. I froze, and as my eyes adjusted, I saw it was an old man or woman in a white gown with white hair. "Hey," I yelled. The old person sprinted toward me like an effing jet. I sprinted back to my room where the light was on. I put my hands up, ready to fight the old person. Wait, ready to fight. And the old person came lunging in, and when they saw me, they stopped and said, "Why are you in my house?" I pretended I was leaving and apologized while I eased into the closer bathroom, locked the door, and called 911 with the house phone. Turns out, a woman about a half-mile away in the neighborhood had a form of dementia and wandered into my house while I was sleeping.
That's crazy. Holy cow.
That would be really creepy.
Why are you in my house? Okay. Do you have another one? Or... Because I have another one, if you don't.
When I was in my very early 20s, my mom and I shared a house. We had a stalker. The first night we stayed in the house, someone got into our car. My mom happened to come outside, saw him, set off the panic alarm on the car, and scared him away. My backpack had been in the car, and he dumped the contents into the floorboard of the car, but left the paycheck that I had just cashed, all the cash still in a bank envelope. The police said it seemed like they were searching for something specific and really questioned me about what that might be, but I have no idea. Police were able to get a partial palm print off the car, but had no matches in their system.
Wow.
My mom and I were out doing yard work and found a phone cord under our deck. It connected into the phone box on the outside of the house. We called the phone company out, and they said that they figured that someone had been using the cord to hook up a phone and lay under our deck and listen in on our phone calls.
Oh my god.
They removed the cord and put a lock on the phone box.
Great. I'm glad.
We also frequently heard someone walking outside our windows at night.
Oh, jeez.
We would call the police, and they would drive by but not see anyone. Another time, all of the light bulbs from our exterior lights were removed. Once we came home, and my mom realized that a pair of earrings and a stuffed animal that had been sitting on her dresser were missing. There was no sign of anyone having broken in, but those items never turned up, and we were sure someone had been in the house. We frequently heard this weird thump and squeak noise that we could never figure out what caused it.
Oh my god.
There's like 2 more paragraphs of this.
Oh wow.
Yeah. Another time, my mom was raking leaves at the front of the house and saw something in one of our bushes. It was a voice-activated recorder, wrapped in a black plastic and tied to the trunk of one of our bushes. The recorder was tapped into our phone line. Someone had gotten under our house, drilled a hole through our foundation, and run a phone cord through the hole into the recorder in the bush.
Oh my god.
We have no idea how a neighbor, so they were all elderly, didn't see or hear this happening. The police, who were well aware of the issues by this point, now seemed to realize that this was a serious, scary problem. They sent several officers out to investigate the recorder. We were in the house talking to an officer and heard the thump/squeak noise that we always heard. We told the officer, "That's the noise we can't identify." As it turns out, at that moment an officer was crawling under the house and had bumped a pipe. He was able to repeat the noise. The police figured that it was almost impossible to get into or out of the crawl space under our house without bumping that pipe. And we heard that noise a lot. The police think that whoever it was getting into the crawl space and lying under the house listening to us. We put a cover over the entrance and glued it down. We put sequins in a certain order in the glue so that we could tell if it had been removed and re-glued. It was all insanely creepy, We eventually moved. I moved in with my boyfriend, now husband, on a second-floor apartment. I felt so much safer with people all around and figure that the stalking issue was behind me. Not long after we moved in, I noticed that our caller ID wasn't working.
Oh boy.
I called the phone company. They informed me that a Mr. Kramer had called and requested that the caller ID service be turned off on our phone. I had a meltdown. I was so upset. First off, because the phone company let some random person make changes on our phone line.
Yeah.
Secondly, because apparently the issues were not behind me, and they were planning something and didn't want the caller ID to show up. I put a password on our account, so no changes could be made without it. And that was the last issue we ever had. I really think the caller ID issue was possibly unrelated. Maybe someone was accidentally making changes to the wrong account or something. Either way, it was very creepy, though I have to admit, if the person had wanted to do something bad to either one of us, there were surely plenty of times that could have been done. It really seems they just wanted to observe us and scare us.
Wow.
It's messed up.
That's another good one I can do to you.
No! What, tap my phone? I don't even know if that's possible.
Hide underneath your floorboards and just listen to you.
You probably wouldn't hear anything.
I'll do the goodbye, good night.
Oh my god. That would legitimately freak me out. I would run away. Actually, I would probably ask my grandma if she heard anything. And if she didn't, I would probably tell her to get in the car and we'd leave.
Run, Grandma. Alright. Are you ready for Halloween now?
Yeah.
Did you spook yourself?
No. No, that's it. I just didn't.
Okay. That's good. Oh yeah.
Oh wow.
Well, shall we wrap up this podcast?
Oh man.
Should we sing Kumbaya or something to make everyone feel better?
I don't know. I feel like we should end on a different note.
Okay.
I'm not sure what though. What's the happiest thing that happened to you this week? Or in your life?
In my life, my entire life.
Yeah.
My whole life is just endless suffering.
Have you seen any cute animals recently?
No.
Okay. You're useless.
I know, I am really useless. Holy cow.
I'm kidding. I mean, I saw a puppy today.
Did you? How was it? What kind of puppy was it?
Oh, you know what? I went into... Okay, so I had to clean a room today because somebody got evicted, and so their room was empty, and it needed to be cleaned for the next person that was moving in. So I had to go into this unit, but it was just one bedroom that was empty. Like the rest of the unit still had people living there. So I had to knock and everything. And when I knocked, I heard a dog barking, but nobody came to answer the door. So I just my key to let myself in. And it was this little black and white Chihuahua thing, and it as soon as I walked in, it stopped barking, and it just kind of pounced on me a little bit, and just wanted to play with me and stuff, and as I was doing my cleaning, it just followed me all over the place, and was sitting right outside the door watching me clean.
Oh, cool.
It was adorable. And it was just so calm, it was all upset when I knocked, but then as soon as I came into the room, it just like chilled with me.
Awesome. All right, well, good night.
Thanks for listening. Please like and subscribe, and
Don't forget to hit that bell button.
hit the bell, and share this podcast with your friends. Oh, and comment any thoughts and questions that you
And
may
if
have.
you didn't like the podcast, don't share it with your friends, share it with your enemies.
Oh yeah, that's a good idea
Yes.
to do that.
Bye.
Goodbye.